Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will be looking at what static and what dynamic websites are. Okay, so static websites are those websites or static web pages are those web pages whose content do not change based on where the request is coming from or which user is trying to access that web page. So, for example, if you consider GFG homepage, its content is going to be same for every user, no matter if I log in or if you log in, its homepage is going to look same. Okay, so what will static websites contain? It will have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, images, videos. Okay, now what are dynamic websites? So dynamic websites are those websites whose content changes based on where the request is coming from or who is logging in or who is requesting, which user is requesting for that web page. Example could be, example will be social media websites. In this particular video, our focus of discussion is going to be on static websites. Okay, now consider a static website whose web server is present in America. Okay, so for any user who is closer to this server, geographically closer to this particular web server, he will get the content rendered very fast. But for a user who is sitting in Asia, they are geographically very far away from this server, right? So the amount of time taken to render this particular website for users in Asia is going to be very high. Okay, now you know that users need content to be delivered very fast, they need things to be responsive, right? But for these particular users, uh, the website is not going to be very responsive because the server is present geographically very far away from them. Okay, so for these users, the rendering of website would be very slow, which is a problem. Now, how do we solve this problem? We introduce something called as a content delivery network. A content delivery network is a collection of globally distributed servers which will cache the static content of websites onto them. Okay, yeah. So if you see this, all these blue icons are content delivery network servers. They are CDN servers. Okay, so a CDN is collection of globally distributed servers. These servers are distributed globally. If you can see, there is some content delivery network close to every user, right? And all the static content of this particular website will be cached onto the CDN server. Okay, so whenever a user is trying to access website, it will need not go to the server always. Okay, the static content of the website is cached onto this CDN server. So, and each user will have some CDN server close to him. Okay, so the static content would be fetched from these CDN servers only. So how does it help? The response time, the late responsiveness that we were seeing earlier without CDN network, that problem is solved here. Okay, now apart from fast rendering of website, what is another advantage? Another advantage is that because all user requests are not going directly hitting these web servers, main web servers, it reduces the network bandwidth. It reduces network bandwidth. Okay, now based on the kind of caching mechanism used by the content delivery network, it is divided into two categories. The first one is push CDNs. First category is push CDN. So push CDNs are those CDNs in which it is engineer's responsibility to push all the new assets or new content onto the CDN network. Okay, engineers are responsible for putting anything that is updated on server. They are supposed to push it onto the content delivery network. Okay, and whenever user asks for it, content delivery network will simply return the particular thing from the CDN server. Okay, the problem with this particular push CDN is that it has got high maintenance, because every time there is something new, engineer will have to push it onto the content delivery network, right? So push CDNs are supposed to be used at places where traffic is low and where content does not change very frequently. Okay? This is where the push CDNs should be used. Another kind of CDNs are pull CDNs. Pull CDNs are those CDNs which are capable of getting the assets or data by themselves from the main server. Okay, so flow of request is like this. So let's say there is a user has requested an asset. Okay, it has requested an asset from the CDN will check its cache. It will check if that asset is present in it or not. If the asset is missing, it will go to the web server. It will get that data from web server. It will store it in its cache. It has got the data now, and then it will return it back to the user. Okay, this is how pull CDNs are capable of getting the content from the web server. Okay, so these are very low maintenance. Okay, these are low maintenance CDNs, but there is a problem. Now let's say user has asked for an asset and that asset is already present onto the CDN server, but the same asset has been updated on main server. What will happen in that case? CDN will not know that it has been updated on main server, and it will return the stale data. It will return stale data. This is the problem with pull CDNs. Okay, examples of CDNs are Cloudflare, Google Cloud CDN. Okay, so far we have seen the advantages of using CDNs. Okay, but there are some places or some scenarios in which CDN should not be used. We'll see what those scenarios are. Okay, so first is that we saw that CDNs might return stale data. Okay, so the cases or the places where you are dealing with critical information, let's say financial or banking data. So in case of financial or banking applications, you cannot tolerate stale data, right? You always need updated data. So in those cases, you cannot use CDNs. You cannot use CDNs. Okay. Next is when users are consolidated in one particular region only. They are not distributed all over the world. They are consolidated in one particular region. So there is no point of putting CDNs. Instead, what you can do is you can put the main server itself into that particular region, and all the users can fetch data directly from that server. You need not put a CDN in that case. CDN would be redundant in that case. Also, you should not be putting data that changes frequently. So data from social media websites or data from dynamic websites should not be put on CDN. I hope you would have understood this. Thank you.